This is the Airhorn Podcast. Gonna slow down and talk about going fast. It's another mountain biking podcast, and we sometimes answer questions you have. Listen at 1.25 speed. You can listen in any order you please. It might be the worst, it could be the best. Sometimes it's just me, sometimes there's a guest. It's the Airhorn Podcast. And welcome to the Airhorn Podcast with my co-hosts tonight, Mark Hill.
You.
Segment.
You went with the rock version. I love it.
I did. We got votes. We had votes on Instagram, and everybody loved the rock version, although a lot of people did love the country version too. I just want to make it clear, we weren't voting to get rid of one and keep the other one. We were just voting for what's going to be on tonight. So I'm going to keep both of them. I know there's also we had like a Talking Heads version of the Raw Vlog. Do you remember the Raw Vlog songs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna do more of those. Welcome everybody who's here. To give me a what's up, Stephen Nelson in the chat. It's good to see you. And he says he's it's good to see you too. You can see the chat, right?
Yeah. There he goes.
Okay, cool.
There he goes. Hey, Stephen.
Okay. Hey. So we're going to be getting to our main subject matter today, but it is an Airhorn podcast, so we do have some segments. A quick introduction, if you don't already know Mark Hill. Mark Hill has a YouTube channel called The Segment. And the segment is actually, Mark, what is the segment? Give us your elevator pitch.
Yeah, so the segment is a channel that's just to motivate and inspire folks that are watching it. But I've actually expanded that to different segments within your life. That's
cool. That's really, really cool. So Mark's here to just kind of like help me out. I brought Mark back on to the podcast because we had a really good time on the last one, and I feel like we have a lot of similar approaches to like talking about life. I think we have similar approaches to life and also similar approaches to talking about life. So it's really nice to have you back on. Thanks for coming back on and taking the time for this. I know it eats up an hour of your day.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited to be back on the show. Thanks for having me. And I see all these folks over here. Vegas Mike, Case Study. What's going on, you guys?
You. Oh, and Vegas Mike. There we go. What's up? What's up, Vegas Mike? Let's jump into a couple of our show segments. So a little bit of news. I don't know if anybody's following the UCI-DH. All of us in here in America couldn't watch any of the world champs. The freaking world champs, and we couldn't watch any of it because it was gated to like other parts of the world. I think it's now available on Red Bull finally, but like a lot of us had to wait. I was super bummed about that. If you are not into racing, it's fine. You should still go and try and watch that race because the UCI-DH like series has been moved so far back in the year that they're having to ride in like terrible weather. It's like they're having to like deal with snow, and it's just a wild ride. And if you don't want to watch the whole race, the Vital MTB Raws, like it's just wow, it's just great to see. But anyway, that's just kind of general news. Mark, what do you got going on your channel this week?
So got an episode coming out that's or actually just came out that was all about trying to be another PR and then learning a new trail. So
what trail?
It's TMB DH.
DH, darn.
Yeah, I know. You'll see it in the video. I kind of went up like a little kid, like, I don't want to go here. I don't want to go here. And then when I got to the bottom, I felt like a man. I was like, yeah, I'm still alive.
That's great. Dude, when you go to enter, it's kind of scary, right? Like,
oh my gosh.
Like not even before you're even on the trail, right? Like it's all like, it's like DH.
That the Two Rock Garden step down entrance there, that I walked it the first time and I'm like, there is no way.
Did you get it the second time?
Well, I made the first rock
First-
garden. The second rock
Mhm.
garden, my crank hit the rocks, and I was literally
Mm.
teeter tottering there.
Oh,
So
don't.
yeah,
You gotta wait
yeah.
to see the episode to
Oh
find out
yeah,
what
yep,
happens. He was
yeah.
teeter tottering.
I won't say anymore.
That's great. And for me, I don't really have the. I'm not really sure what's going on this week for my videos because I've got stuff that I'm working on, but it's going to take a little while. I think we're going to be back in the demo lab, and those stop motion things take a little bit of time. So that one's probably another week out, maybe a week or two out. But it might just be an old fashioned had a rad day on the bike POV footage video without too much else going on. I haven't done one of those in a long time, so we might go OG on
Love
that.
it.
Yeah,
Alan,
go ahead.
Alan,
I was gonna say real quick. M1 Mars told us he saw it on the Olympic Channel.
oh, dang, nice. That was that the one in Leo Gang?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're in Maribor now. Yeah. Anyways, you're saying?
Oh, just going back to the last episode, you said, I don't know how I'm going to finish this jump episode. I think I'm going to have some cardboard cutouts. And then we saw the video, and it was the stop motion stuff on the fridge. That was awesome.
Thanks, dude.
Awesome. Was that hard to do? Does that take a long time? I'm assuming it does.
It takes time.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of weird because I'm not a very good planner. And with something like stop motion, you kind of have to know what you're doing before you go into it. And so like, I actually gave it to my buddy who helped me like pick, Katie helped me pick like some of my materials and stuff because I wasn't really sure what to get. And so my first bike, I like made my first bike. And it was like this big. It was like so small. So I had to like, and I like finished it and I was like, put it on the fridge and I was like, oh my God, it's tiny. So I had to like totally remake it. And I was like, oh, actually what I need to do is I need to measure out the jump because I need to know, like, I wanted the jump proportions to be pretty accurate. So, the landing would be like a more like maybe 2 bike lengths. And then the table was like 2 bike lengths. And then I wanted the landing to be like 4 bike lengths. So that meant I needed to actually make the jump first and then measure the bike to the jump. So if you haven't watched that video, or if you have, if you go back and watch it and you like stop the frames, you'll see that the bike is actually kind of in proportion. So I wanted it to look relatively good. So
wow,
that took a while, like having to redo that a couple of times, and then of course just doing the stop motion, takes some time.
So was that really done on the refrigerator, Alan, or was that on a flat whiteboard?
No.
That was actually, you put magnets on everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Did
you
guys
found
know that?
Yeah, I actually straight up, it made it easier because if you like have it just sitting there and you're like, oh, this is hard, and everything just goes like flying everywhere. So like the magnets actually made it a little bit easier, and also like I didn't have to. I've done that before where I had stuff like facing down, and you have to make a whole camera rig, and then you're like bent over a table for 8 hours, and so the fridge actually worked out nicer. So I kind of, it looked like it was a creative solution for a limitation, which ended up making things easier.
That's pretty cool, because the last thing you'd want is like a cat or a dog to come run by and knock everything.
Yeah. Plus, I had cold snacks right there.
Right.
We got a message here from Case Study. He says, I wanted to thank you, Mark, for the 20-year, 10-year, etc. journaling idea from your first Airhorn appearance. It's been a welcome addition to my weekly routine. That's really cool.
That's really cool. That's
Check
awesome.
you out. Check you out, Mark. Having a positive effect.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
And good for you, Case Study. That's really cool. Journaling and structured journaling too, not just journaling. So that's it for news. Yeah, we don't have any more news. Mark, Stoke of the week. What's your Stoke for the week?
So this week I found a guy on Instagram. Another one of those stories that goes off real good. I found the guy. First I met a guy, then I found a guy. But this guy is named Anthony Sanchez. He goes by the handle Keto Sanchito. And I'm enough to get him on my podcast broadcast. And it's just because He used to be 300 pounds a year ago, and he started mountain biking, changing his diet, and he's now where is he? He's at 210, and I was just so stoked on the whole story. He drives ambulances on the graveyard shift. So, at night when you're out there and you're running these calls, everything's closed, but fast food is open. So it was even extra difficult for this guy to get the right nutrients and food. And when you come back in the daytime, when we're all out on the trails exercising, he's got to get some sleep. So I was just really stoked to hear his story and hear what he had to say. Yeah, there he is right there. And it was literally the wake-up call for him was literally a doctor's appointment was the first thing. The second thing was he for everybody it's different. He wanted a pair of shorts, and the biggest shorts that they made of the shorts that he likes was a waist 38, and he was a 48. So
Oh, wow.
it was kind of like setting a goal. He bought the shorts, the 38s. They were way too small. He pinned them up so he could see them every single day. And as he was going through this transformation process, he'd periodically try them on, and that would spark him and motivate him to go harder.
Don't tell us too much, Mark.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Don't tell us too much. We want them to go.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of good content there. But yeah, man, that was definitely my stoke of the week. That's was cool to highlight somebody like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. How about you, Alan?
Oh, for me, it was the 10K subs, like hitting 10K. It was so cool.
Congratulations.
Really, but I want to say, I've said this a number of times, like all I did was make content, everybody subscribing and not unsubscribing is like what got us. It really did get us to 10K. I often say like us. I talk about this thing as like us and we, because that's kind of how I look at it. So whenever I see that number get up, I don't really think about like I've got to 10K. I always think about like we together have gotten to 10K, because it was 10,000 plus people who got us there. So yeah, thanks everybody. Cool. That was pretty cool.
Wow, 10,000. That's amazing.
Stephen would like to share his stoke of the week, which is, and I haven't read this first, so I'm just reading it. It might be something terrible, but okay. I went riding last week at Santa's Village. It was my first ride after being cleared by the doctor to get back on the bike after breaking my arm. Went great. Heck yeah.
Dang.
That is rad. That is such a great place. That was actually the first like park I went to after I broke my wrist. And I got to tell you, I had a new appreciation for sleigh ride, for sure.
You could feel it.
Yeah. So that's our stoke of the week. So let's jump into, just kind of, it's just, we've been thinking recently about lots of stuff. I think the 10K subscribers has had me like kind of revisiting my life as a mountain biker. I was looking back at my old Strava. I don't know if you guys have ever done this. If you're on Strava, go to your training, and then go to your activities. And then within there, you can sort your activities by date. So you can see your very first Strava ride. And the reason I did this is somebody had asked me in the 10K AMA, and they asked me anything. They asked me, what was your first trail? And my first trail was actually, it's like not even, I was telling them it's like not even a trail. It's like, there's like the Redlands airport is kind of close to me. So I'm here in Redlands, and it was like a short little ride with an elevation gain of like, 400 feet, like the whole time, and a lot of it was on the road. It wasn't even a trail. Anyway, I got me back looking at that, and it just kind of really gave me a whole bunch of perspective. But then while I was back there looking at it, I noticed that I started riding in June of 2016, and by 5 months later, in November of 2016, I did my first enduro race. I did the SoCal enduro race at Vail Lake.
Oh my God.
And stage one, took me 9 minutes and 51 seconds. So I don't know. I know that that's a really terrible time. But thing is, so I just want to make it clear that I was in the hardtail class of that. So I was just going up against a small number, about 10 other people who were on hardtails. So I did the first run. I was still on, I think it's called Tippy Top Enduro. I was still on that portion, which is like 0.06 miles or something like that. And I very quickly went over the bars. Over the bars on the I think it's the like after the first little bit, like if the Vale Lake in like Tippy Top Enduro, there's like a kind of, it's not very downhill, it's like pretty level, and there's just like a bunch of chunky rocks. And I saw a bunch of people sessioning that, so I went up there and I like kind of checked it out. I was on a 29er hardtail, and I was like, okay, cool, I can survive this. I could like barely make it through. Okay, cool. I didn't think about anything else. So like 3, 2, 1, go. So like, no, okay. And then I made it through. I was like, okay, I made it through. But then there was the rest of the trail. And very shortly after that, if it starts to get a little bit steeper and stays chunky, and very quickly was over the bars. Oof. Over the bars, and just like a whole bunch of people were there. Oh. And at that point, I could have just been like, there goes the run. Like, why even try, right? Like this is over. Like this run is done. I crashed. But I was just so stoked to be racing. I like kept a good attitude, grabbed my bike, made sure like I don't even think I made sure anything. I just got on the bike and like kept going.
Did anybody see that? Hopefully nobody saw that.
Oh yeah. Oh no, people definitely saw it. There was I crashed where everybody was. That's how you know. Like if you do a race and there's a bunch of people standing there, that's where people crash. Oh. So I crashed right there, kept going, somehow made it around the corner, and then crashed again. Dang. But then again, got back on the bike as quick as I could, and then just went even harder the rest of the way. And the day kind of went on like that. I didn't crash anymore, but I just tried to keep a really good attitude the rest of the day. And at the end of the day, I ended up podiuming. I ended up getting third place. Even with that crash, I ended up getting a pretty decent spot, even on stage 1. Wow. But there was still other stages, and I just went really hard on the other stages and tried to stay smooth. And a lot of my nerves were kind of worked out. But like, I could have given up. I could have been like, whatever, and just like, said forget it. But and that really kind of got me thinking about that thing about like, when's it too late, and is it ever too late? But I don't know if you've ever had if you've had experiences like that too.
Yeah, definitely there's a mindset, right? So it's those moments where you feel like quitting, and the moment you throw in the towel, it's over. You're going to get the DNF, right? Did not finish, and it's really never over until you throw in that towel. So, like in your case, going over the bars and crashing and still have an opportunity to podium, I think a lot of times us as riders, we just get in those moments where either we have the negative thought and we're thinking like, this is going to blow my whole run. I came all the way out here today. Now I'm not having a good time, and you get in that mindset. And so it's really important to try to, be on the other end of that mindset, maybe that growth mindset where it's like, hey, look, this crash doesn't define me as a rider. This crash was absolutely a mistake of some kind here, and I'll figure that out later. But I'm still in this thing, man. I still, everything's good. My bike's fine. I'm fine. Let's go. And I
love that idea of like defining, right? Like that one moment doesn't have to define you as a rider. Doesn't even have to define the next 5 minutes. That's right. I think you've said like be where your pedals are. That's a phrase that you say that I like, and like, like in those moments, like on that race run, I had to like leave that crash where it happened, and try not to bring it with me. Obviously you're going to have some physical things, like you might have a scraped shin or something like that. And obviously if you're injured, you no, you
Yeah.
need to call it. But I think like you're talking about mindset, I was thinking about when I broke my wrist, you know, I could, I don't, I didn't show a whole bunch of that video just because I wasn't really recording a whole bunch. But even after I broke my wrist and I knew something was seriously wrong with my wrist, I was waiting, and then like they brought the gator up. This was at Snow Summit, so I'm like up like about halfway down 10 ply, and they brought a gator up to take me down. And at that point I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. Who gets to ride in a, well, I mean, we know who gets to ride in a gator.
The guys go the opposite direction. Like, where
Yeah,
they go?
you don't want that privilege.
Right.
But I took it as like, this is kind of cool. Did I get to like ride in a gator and just kind of see what these things can do, like on this like crazy steep terrain? And I like just tried to keep that attitude. So even like that, I tried not to let it ruin my day. Um, yeah. You had said, you were talking to me about like how like you could apply that kind of thing of like feeling like you've had some sort of failure to your progression, where sometimes failure isn't even like a specific distinct moment. It could be a period of time where you feel like you're just not getting any better at writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm somewhat of a new writer, right? So, um, since March, my son and I got mountain bikes. We've been taking it pretty seriously. But if I go back to high school, I've always had bikes, so I tried to go with a bunch of buddies to Mammoth, and on one of the runs, mountain biking, I went off the cliff, grabbed one of those sharp rocks, and almost cut my pinky off at the tip.
Oh
And
my goodness.
I'm like, done with this sport. This is bananas. And then fast forward to my professional career in what I do corporately for my main job.
Mhm.
My One of my good buddies and I went up to Monterey, and he said, "Hey, do you have a bike? I'm really getting into mountain biking." And he took me up to this trail, and I've got this old rock hopper KHS from high school. So the bike that I crashed on a Mammoth was actually my buddy's, and I had to buy it because not only did I almost cut the tip of my finger off, I had bent the fork, and it went cartwheeling down the mountain and
Oh,
everything. So
oh my goodness.
I know. So I had this bike from the 90s, and this is about 3 years ago. I think 3 or 4 years ago, we went up to Monterey, and
Mm.
there's a Fort Ord. He found this place up there, and he goes, "Let's get up and ride this thing called Pipeline." I don't know if you guys know where that is or have been on that, but to me, I've ridden the bike to go check the mail and maybe go down the street to get a burrito. So I'm going down this crazy trail with him, and I end up at the bottom in a bed of poison oak. And I'm like, this sport's just not for me. This is crazy. I'm putting it up. Stitches almost lost a finger, and now I'm all itchy, and this is no bueno. And then fast forward to keeping the open mindset. I got the bike with my son and went down some trails, and then just for whatever reason, everything clicked, and that was that thing that I had been missing since my old skateboarding days.
Mm.
And had I been in that fixed mindset where, like, I'd say, that's definitely not my sport, I'm not going to do it, period. I was in that growth mindset, was thinking, like, I totally suck at this. And there was a point where it's just like, you know what? It's okay to suck at something, and it's okay to learn it, and it's okay to get better at it. And it's good to be real with yourself. Like, I'm going to suck at this for a little bit, and that's okay. And that helps gain that momentum when you start getting these little wins and you
Yeah.
get more skills under your belt.
Yeah. And I do think like especially as a beginner, you will gain a bunch of skills really quickly. You know, if I look at my Strava history from like the time that I started writing, within those first couple of months, there was a whole bunch of gains. And then I feel like there was definitely a period where just kind of didn't really get any better. And it felt like it felt kind of stagnant. And it would have been really easy, I think, to kind of like drop off from there. But like I think you were saying to me at one point that like the progression sometimes when you get to a certain point is still happening.
Hmm.
it just isn't as obvious.
That's right.
And sometimes you won't see it, but your buddies will see it, and
That's right.
if they're nice to you, they'll tell you about it.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, the progression, it could be physical, maybe there's something physically that you're progressing on that you don't realize. And then mentally, you could be ready for the next level at the sport, but maybe you just haven't turned that switch on.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed on your episodes when you were writing Snow Summit, and it was the episode that you had the editor Alan come in and say, "Hey man, you were bagging on Sky Park." Well, there was something that switched in your brain because
Yeah.
you had all these skills that you got from the other park, and you brought it to Sky Park, and then you unleashed it. So
Yeah.
there was something there. Do you know that moment? Was it a feeling, or what was that?
Um, so, we went up. I want to get back to what Steven had said, but
Yeah.
we went up, that the first weekend after Snow Summit had shut down, and I rode, and I was just like, it was just like rolling around, it was okay. And, but I didn't give up on it, like, cause I deep, in the back of my mind, I knew like I had a blast up there before, but I just wasn't doing it then. And I think at a certain point, it was, I don't actually know if I consciously did it. At a certain point, like I hit a jump, and I had, because I'd been working on the skills and I'd been doing the drills, kind of like I talked about in the skills video about like sessioning something and like making that new idea something just in my bones, making it how I ride. And it just happened on one of the jumps. And then at that's when I kind of realized. So it was less of it started from the body, something that I drilled into myself. And then once I felt that, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. That kind of aha moment, like, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah. It's another, I think it's one of the things, I think it's one of the reasons why deep down, why a lot of us love mountain biking is because it has this ability to teach things back to us. It has this ability to kind of reflect back on us. I know like when I used to surf back in the day, I had a buddy who was like very like spiritual soul surfer kind of guy. And he used to talk about like, he loved to surf, but surf was also kind of like a status reading for him, because he was kind of putting himself out there into the elements, and the way he would interact with the elements, how well he could read the ocean and how well he could react to it was kind of a nice way to check his status. And I think like mountain biking can be like that too, because you can go to the same trail on 2 different weekends and have, 66 psi in the front and 185 in the back, and the same air pressures, and this have everything exactly the same. And on one day, like you feel like you don't know how to ride a bike, and on the next day you feel like Aaron Gwynn. And a lot of that is just kind of like where your mindset is at. So going back to your question, I think it was just that it's not like I ever thought about giving up on going to Sky Park, but I just knew like one bad day, or quote unquote bad day at Sky Park, didn't mean that like, I knew deep down that it was internal. It was my own mindset, but as they say, a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at work, right?
Yes, exactly. I wonder if the mindset was you were going back to Sky Park and you were just remembering how you used to ride it, and then once you got comfortable, all that Snow Summit new skill set came in. It makes me wonder.
I think it was more similar to had learned that skill set at Snow Summit. And so everything that I learned, like I had learned by like, I had this visual connection to certain jumps, to all the lines of the jumps on Blue Steel to West Ridge or Party Wave to West Ridge. So like it was like very connected to those things. And like I said in the video, like I didn't say this specifically in the video, but I allowed the skills to be location based.
Yeah.
I just didn't bring them with me. And then I was like, oh shoot, I left them, and I left it in the truck. Let me go get
Let me go get it.
And so like once I brought them there and then started using them, it's so funny, because I've heard other people talk about, um, oh, the jumps at Snow Summit are blah blah blah, and they blame the jumps for how they perform on the jumps. I feel like I get bucked a lot at Snow Summit. I feel like I get bucked a lot at Sky Park, whatever that is. But in the end, like you're the active agent, you know, and
Yeah.
I wasn't being the active agent, and then like you said, I was riding like I used to ride there. And what's funny about that is like when I used to ride that way there, I had a really good time, but by not like rising to the level that I knew I could rise to, I just wasn't having a good time.
That
Um,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about this real quick. Stephen Nelson, asked us a good question here, which is there a plateau stage that you get to with mountain biking, like when you can't make any more gains, like working out? I kind of want to address the working out and making more gains. I don't think there's not really a place you can get to where you will stop making gains, but kind of like we were talking about before, it's just that it's really easy at the start to make big gains. Like if you're starting to do back squats and you've never done back squats before, and let's say you weigh 160 pounds, you're gonna do a back squat and do like 95 pounds, and you're like, dang, that's almost 100 pounds. And then before you know it, you're benching, you're back squatting body weight, like a back squat a me,
Right.
and then you're like back squatting 225 pounds, and you're like, Rah! And then trying to get to 227 pounds becomes harder and harder because now you've gained so much strength, but like the increments of that point become smaller and smaller. Like at the gym, at like a good gym, they have like, I call them PR plates, personal record plates, because they're like micro plates. You can add like a quarter pound to the barbell and be like, my 1 rep max back squat used to be 275 pounds, but now it's 275 and a quarter pound. But bringing that to mountain biking, right? Like once you have your foundational skills, um, there is a plateau period, and I feel like there are obstructions. There's actual real obstructions to you progressing, and some of those are gaps in those foundational skills. Because if you haven't done coaching or whatever, like who's taught you? Like where did you learn your skills? Like okay, GMBN, cool. Your buddy who probably has a lot of gaps in their skills unless like they've been coached. So like some coaching will kind of fill out those, and just filling out those foundational skills will actually help you kind of progress more. And then also, and just kind of coaching. I think that was huge. And one thing I'm sorry, Mark, I'm just
No, it's good. Yeah.
One thing that I didn't really talk about in the jump progression, I talked about it a little bit in the thing that kind of changed how I jump. Kevin Aiello's coaching really, really did help. So, my bike position and my bike setup did, I think, make a huge difference because I didn't talk about it too much in any of the episodes, but the way my bike now reacts to jumps is like so much better. Like it's not a huge difference, but it's like it's way more dependable. Like I always know what it's going to do off of a jump now. Yeah.
Yeah, and wasn't that the episode where he was adjusting your rebound like on the trail? You're just like,
Yeah.
wait, what's going on here?
Yeah. Not just the rebound, like everything. Like
Everything.
like way more pressure. Like I think like we ended up like close to 20 pounds more pressure in the back.
Wow.
Faster rebound, faster everything in the front. Like we opened up the circuits, like high speed, low speed compression, high speed, low speed rebound. Like we just opened everything up.
Wow.
I don't suggest anybody do that without a coach, but yeah.
That was pretty cool. I love the part where he talked about it was kind of like rowing your arms, like it's like a row motion with your bars or something. When you were versus just pulling up, right?
Yeah, Jason Richardson. Yeah. So he didn't. He gave me some coaching, just kind of like as a buddy. But he's a former AA pro BMX racer.
Wow.
And that guy can just, first off, he's like crazy fast. Like I'm I don't want to. I'm not bragging, but like at Snow Summit, I'm faster than the majority of people that ride there. The people, but then there's a whole echelon of people that are just like crazy fast. I look at their times and I'm like, did you just skip a whole third of the trail? Like, how did you do that? So like when I ride with people that I can't keep up with, I'm always just like, holy crap! Like, and not just and that's just him riding just casual.
That's incredible.
Steve asked if is he a coach at Snow Summit? He's not a coach at Snow Summit. He doesn't technically coach at Snow Summit. Kevin Aiello, he will like give coaching, and then basically you go and practice those skills at Snow Summit. Because Snow Summit, basically you have to be associated with Snow Summit to actually do coaching on their premises. So yeah, yeah. Have you done any coaching? Gotten any coaching or anything?
No, well, I would like to, and I lately have been getting some coaching. One of my friends is Joe Duarte. I don't know if you guys would remember back in the like early 2000s, late 90s. He was a UFC, one of the UFC fighting champions.
Mm-hmm.
So he's also a mountain biker, and he has this incredible mindset where you feel alive. You got to push yourself. It's good. So he's definitely pushing me and trying to teach me fundamentals on where to place my bike, my body. One of the things we were working on is just going off this little gap jump. He was trying to get me to get my heels down so that when I'm actually on the transition, my feet feel more flat when I'm actually jumping and pulling up. And so that felt really awkward at first, but now I can see that that brings more confidence because I feel way more under control. Whereas sometimes I get into a weird dead sailor position, and when you're in that spot, you're just like, "Oh God, hold on."
That's the worst. Does he ever like ask you to do stuff that you feel like you just can't do? Like,
Yeah. So when we did TMBDH, he took me up there and he said, he goes, "Look, I know you can do this. I've seen your skills. I know you can do this. I wouldn't take you up here if you couldn't." So that was pretty much half the battle. Was like, I got somebody who's going to believe in me, and is going to show me what lines, where to go, and what to stay away from. So I wouldn't have done that trail without him and that coaching, that encouragement for sure. Because
yeah,
that's I mean, obviously you've done it, Alan. It's pretty gnarly.
yeah, it's no joke. I do think that's a huge factor in like figuring out like is not giving up, trying new things. Like our whole kind of thing we were talking about is like when is it too late? Like when is it time to like just hang it up? And a lot of the times, just having good, positive people around you. And I don't mean just like people that are like just shooting rainbows out their buttholes all the time, but
Yeah,
like
send it. You got this. Send it.
yeah, yeah. But people that are like honest, like they really like pay attention to you and like know like they're supportive, maybe is a better way to put it. I always like just brutal honesty from friends, but that having that support can really help with that. So having good like legit people with you, especially on the trail, I think is like good, because I've ridden with people who were just like, no, dude, just you got 100 whatever millimeters to travel, just
Yeah.
and I'm like,
I know. Nice seeing you.
yeah, I'll catch you on the next lap.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something too, when we plateau sometimes, maybe when we look back, maybe we're in a rut, maybe we have the same routine, maybe we're hitting the same trails, and maybe we're doing it with the same people. And maybe you need to go with a group of people that are, elevated up. It's almost like that whole thing in business, or when they say your network can potentially be a forecast of your net worth. If you
Right.
are, or even with education, if you're the smartest person in the group, maybe you need to expand that group a little bit more so you can learn something. And maybe when you're plateauing in this sport, you need to go on a ride with somebody who's got skill levels that'll push you to the next level.
That's so true. It's funny you say that. Like, I'm not bragging, but like there was a period in my life where like I was usually one of the smarter people in the room. And while that can be good for your ego, it's like it's bad for your brain. And I work in a place now where I'm regularly the dumbest guy in the room. Like I work with like crazy smart people, crazy experienced people and they do awesome stuff. So it always just kind of keeps me humble, but also it forces me to kind of like rise not to their level, but to a level above where I'm at. But obviously, on a mountain bike, you'd want to ride with people that are like a little bit like just like not too. Like there's people that I've ridden with that like I just can't. I just can't. Right. Well, I mean, can I? Like, is it that I can't, or that I just? So this is one of the things we wanted to talk about. I think.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about like it's easy. Like we were talking about how whether it's like whatever the reason, a lot of times it's age. Saying like, well, I'm too old to learn to jump. I can't jump like that. I can't climb that hard, that fast. I can't do those things. And I like to take the approach of I don't.
That's
right.
That's
I,
right.
I don't jump like that. And that allows me to kind of take ownership of it. It means that I can change it. I remember riding with somebody once and he actually got upset about it. I don't really know why, but he was like, I can't climb as fast as you. And he actually was like mad at me for it. And I was like, but it was the kind of thing where it was like, if I looked at this person, like they didn't eat very well, they didn't train, they didn't do anything to get better at climbing. Now, that's their prerogative. But I'm like, if you tell me you can't climb like me, well, if you don't do what I did, you're not going to be able to. If you didn't do what I did for the last 2 years, you're not going to be able to do what I'm doing now. So it's like it's not that he couldn't climb like me.
Yeah.
He just didn't, but if it's not important to him, and I think that's kind of the thing, like just own it. Like if maybe you don't want to jump, right? So I would say like instead of saying I can't jump like that person, just say I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I mean, owning it, like I don't, and then you can even put the ... now. I don't yet. I don't today.
Right.
However it is, but the word, instead of I can't, that growth mindset. I mean, it's Les Brown says it really well. He says the richest place in the world is the graveyard, and that's just because people take ideas and skills and things that they could have unlocked when they were here, and they die with those things. Can you imagine the person who obviously invented the iPhone? We all know who that is. If that idea never just got out there, or is it Roger Bannister? Am I getting that right? He was the first person to run under the 4-minute mile, right? And then once he broke that record, I mean, for years people were trying to run that fast. And once he broke that record, shortly after, a lot of other people started breaking it as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, that mindset's it's a big one. It's a big one. So yeah. Don't versus can't. It's
right. Don't versus can't. I think like, and it doesn't necessarily like, I don't like to like, again, I'm not trying to like blow rainbows out my butt. I just am thinking like, if you're not interested in doing something, if you're not interested in like, let's say you're not interested in like throwing a big whip on a jump, if it's not that important to you, fine, it's okay, own it, and be good with that. You don't have to. You can. I think it's easy for a lot of us to like come into this thing and be like, I need to be at the level that other people are at, otherwise I get judged. Like we're out there on bikes, we're out there having fun on bikes. I know for me, like that progression is part of my joy. Like we were talking about before, like when I was able to start hitting jumps better with more confidence, I just get joy out of that. Being able to do something that I couldn't do before, do a feature that like used to scare the heck out of me, that I used to think I couldn't do, and then suddenly I'm doing it, and then suddenly it's like, oh, it's just part of what I do.
Love that. I love that. Around that, I heard this cool quote today. I can't climb up because I love burritos. I
Hey,
do too. I do
Vegas
too.
Mike, come on, burritos are fuel, man.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
just don't eat them right before you go. Like, it's fuel, man.
I don't get off the ground well today. What the heck? Those burritos
too
are
much,
in there.
too much ballast.
uh,
Sorry,
I
you're gonna
was
say.
no, I was riding with a buddy today, and he said this quote that was like, "Man, I got to remember that." There was this feature in Slaughterhouse. It's this crazy bridge on this oak tree that had fallen over, and they built this bridge that goes up and over. And at the very high part, if you fall off on one side, it's poison oak. If you fall back on the side that you entered in, it's a big drop. And it's a skinny that they made, and it's all at a weird, like, it goes up like a ramp, but then it kind of twists towards the top, and then it plateaus out and it twists again to come off. And I showed my buddy, this is that crazy bridge, the first time we went. The second time, he hit it and cleaned it. And I said, man, what was that? That was amazing. And he said, the quote that I always remember is, the longer it takes, the bigger it gets. I just had to get that done with.
Dude, that's so true. That's so true. That was 650B for me. Years. I like rode by that thing for years.
Is that the Tombstone, Alan?
No. The Tombstone wasn't. Yeah, ended up not being that big of a deal. The 650B is that like wood ramp at the top of Party Wave.
Okay.
I had just let it. Yeah, I just rode by it so many times. And what's funny is like I look back, like I've stood there just by it, like watching people go over it, and there were so many people that like just kind of like barely like rolled over it, like land on the backside of the knuckle, like
Wow.
like it's nothing, But like I had just kind of like so worked it up in my brain, I think. Got to come clean with you. The truth, part of it is I didn't want to be one of the people that just like, right? Like it was like, yeah, I wanted to hit it. Like I wanted to like legit hit it the first time. And I let my ego kind of get in the way of that. And it wasn't until I was finally like, dude, just case it. Just case the crap out of it and just get over it. Like, that video is actually called Get Over It. But for me, the meaning, like I never said this in the video, but for me, that real meaning of that was like, get over it. Like, get over needing to look cool going over 650B.
Wow. That's
because when I hit the, you brought up the Tombstone, when I hit the Tombstone on Muscle Beach, at Muscle Beach, there's always people there, like videoing and hanging out, and there's like people that like just are freaking rad on those jumps. And I had to swallow my pride. It wasn't hard because I had like kind of already experienced the benefits of being humble and just doing it. Like just do it terrible first. Do it crappy first and then do it better. Suck first and then you can get better. So like the first time over the Tombstone was like terrible. I didn't just case it. I was just like, brr. I did all the things like those 5 tips. Those 5 tips. I did 0 of the 5 tips. I just like looked down. I just did everything wrong and but I like did it. I did it in a way that I knew I could do safely. And then after that, it was good.
Wow. It's amazing when ego, thoughts, fear, that's the big one, man. How do you turn that fear into fuel? And at what point do you lock it in and be committed, to the point where you can bail out? So that's such a balancing act. I feel like in this sport, it's you're constantly like we were saying, you know, you're going down the hill and just don't die, bro.
Yeah. Go fast, don't die.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Uh,
kind of talking about that thing about like it, like the longer you wait, the bigger it gets.
mhm.
I think there is a point where it can possibly end up being too late. Like you can let things get so big that like you may never be able to overcome them. Do you think that's a thing, or do you think that you always have a chance?
I mean, I think you always have a chance, you know, but
Mm.
I agree with you that you can get to a point where you lock it up in the brain and you say, "Hey, that thing is just never going to be able to do that. That is just crazy." But if you're lucky and you realize that you're probably somewhere else doing another trail and you can clear things that are similar, they're just not at
Mhm.
that location and they're not called that same feature, you know?
That's a good
And
point.
and then and maybe some buddies that could really say, "Hey, man, I've seen you do this, and I know you can do that," and then make it a point to get in there. So there's always a chance. There's always a chance.
Dude, I live near Holder Crooks, which is in Loma Linda, and there are jumps there with gaps that are like literally like that wide.
Wow.
They're like tiny little gaps, maybe that are wider than that. They're like a bike length. And I've done like I've done like big jumps at Snow Summit. They're just like tables. They're just not gaps. But like a bike length gap, I'm too scared to hit still. Is that stupid?
No, man, that's I mean that's where it's at. You know you can do it. You can
Yeah.
clear the distance, but the fear of the outcome is what's holds a lot of us back from
Yeah.
doing it, you know.
I do think I agree that like comparing can really help there. Like you're saying, like, you've hit that other feature.
Mhm.
I think another thing in the mindset that can really help with that, and I think this can also keep you from thinking it's too late, that you'll never be able to do it, is to start imagining yourself on the other side of it. Like start imagining yourself, and I've been doing this for gaps now, is like starting to just imagine myself landing the gap, like on totally smooth landing on the other side of the gap, and what's the emotional payoff there? Like, how will I feel
Mm,
doing that? And how stoked will I be? And
yeah.
and the more I kind of put my head in that space, the less the fear is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not caught up with the fear of like of
Right.
landing down in there. That's what I did with 650B too.
Man, it's true. I mean, there's so many books out there, and you've heard a lot of athletes, professional athletes, they say if you can visualize yourself, the brain doesn't realize the difference between actually visualizing it and doing it. You know,
Mm,
because you can still get the same feelings from doing it, and the visualization is a big self-reflection to accomplish something.
mhm,
So there's actually, I see that the Trail Dogs MTB are on right now, and one of the things that I took from him is one of the writers. His name is Aaron, and he said before one of his runs, he said, "Stay calm, wait, ride fast, stay calm, ride confident."
mhm,
And I actually use that now when I'm dropping into something where I'm either going to try to jump something for the first time, or if I'm going to try to go after a PR. I tell
mm,
myself, you know, stay calm, stay fast, stay smooth, stay confident.
mhm,
And I think that just kind of shifts my brain into here we go, because I want to. What I want to do is I want to lock myself into that committed mode as quick as
mhm.
possible. I don't want to be in that area where I'm approaching the feature and my brain's still not there yet. Like, oh, you can
Right.
still bail out, you know, and then you end up in that weird in between.
Yeah, you don't want to be working a mental abacus on your way into a feature. Like
Yes.
you like, yeah. My approach is to kind of clear my brain. Um, it's actually kind of, we were talking about like what happened at Sky Park, right? And and that moment just happened where I started doing riding the way I had learned to ride at Snow Summit. And I think like that's kind of a lot of times what I do is let the training take over, you know.
That's,
I kind of learned that the first time I did a race, it's just like just shut it down and just like go. Like
Yeah.
obviously you're not like not thinking. It's just like you're like letting go of overthinking. It's like a
Yeah.
different level of thinking. Maybe is a way to put it. Yeah. Um. But yeah. What about age? Like we're kind of around the same age. We're like
Yeah.
old dudes, and we just
Yeah.
started recently. Like,
I
what's up
know.
with that? Like, oh, actually, before we go any further, there was somebody who I really wanted to bring up.
Ooh.
Um, okay, this is going to take me a second. Sorry. Yeah. So tell me, like, while I look this up, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, when is it
When it,
too old?
yeah, I don't think it's ever too old if your body's working and you have fun doing it.
Uh-huh.
You're going to be able to go. So I'm 46, right?
Hmm.
So I'm quote unquote too old to do a lot of things, but I never let that hold me back. I was going down, as an example, I was going down, um, Distortion at Greer Ranch,
Hmm.
and I was having a good time, and I was by myself, and I'm going down the trail, and I'm going really fast this time. I think I'm going to make a really good time, and then I hear a voice behind me like Ryder, and I just like what? So I pull over, and then four riders come blasting past me like I was standing still, just
Hmm.
real fast, and you can tell there was a ton of skill set there. Well, I finally kick out at the bottom at the Jeep Road. The four riders were all gray hair. They probably were in their mid 60s,
Hmm.
and there was two guys and two ladies, and they were high fiving like, we were blasting down that trail. Yeah, we passed that guy towards the bottom. That was awesome. That was epic. And it's just, there's always a new level. There's always another level that's humbling, and
Yeah.
it's never too late. It's just never too late.
Yeah. Although they were probably like old, like time, like OG riders. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the masters class at some of those races. Like, there's some freaking gnarly, like older dudes and ladies that like just kill it.
Oh
But
man, I bet it could easily have been them. I mean, they had these electric Santa Cruz bikes that were, I don't know, what are those, 10,000 a piece, and they all had those.
yeah,
So
they can be, it can be expensive. Let me
yeah,
share this real quick. So this might not be like a lot of you are not necessarily going to be into this sort of thing, but this person, I just kind of came across this lady. It's like Two Wheel Seniors, and she's like a senior citizen, and she goes and rides this trail. I don't even know where she's at. She's in St. Louis County, right?
wow,
Um, and she's like basically just like goes and like rides down this
no way,
trail.
that's her cam.
Yeah, that's her like GoPro cam.
That is
But
awesome.
but she says this thing. I think I commented. She said this thing. Um, despite the suggestions of age, like getting out there despite the suggestions of age, or like what people think of when they think about like old people and what old people can and can't do. And I just thought like I not on this channel, but like on my MTB ALAN channel, I actually subscribe to her just because like I think that like it's just cool that she's out there like showing that you can kind of like get out there at any age,
Yeah,
and enjoy being on the bike
that's
in
awesome.
the dirt. And I just think that's cool.
That's so cool. Yeah, thanks for showing me. I'll subscribe to her too. That's really inspiring.
Yeah. And she's an old lady, and she talks like an old lady, and she rides like an old lady. But I think the fact that like she's out there like doing it is like really cool.
That's
So
super cool.
it's definitely never too late.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, and
And
the
I think
older we
even if your body,
get,
go ahead.
oh, I was just thinking, the older we get, it's never too late to decide what kind of style and how hard we go, as long as
Hmm.
we still get the stoke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We don't have to send it when we're older. I mean, we can if we want, but that's what's beautiful about it. We get to decide.
yeah. Here's a statement from Vegas Mike, which is hesitation leads to more crashes than more times than not, and I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. Um, I don't ever like to say that the bike will handle it. but yeah, like I think a lot of the crashes that I've seen is like somebody trying to avoid something, you know, whether it's on the brakes or trying to turn out of it, or not being committed going into it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trail Dogs MTB said that too, that not being 100% committed increases the chance of failure.
Yeah. Yeah, Steven Nelson there. One right below it. True trail. That is how I broke my arm. I wasn't committed to a jump. Backed out beyond the point of no return.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't go good. Hard
Yeah.
lesson. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I ever got like seriously injured, like trying to back out of something. Yeah, I don't think so. It's usually just because I just went too crazy. It's funny though. I was, kind of going back to my Strava history. I noticed. So, okay, again, June 2016, right? That was the first Strava ride. And if
Wow.
I look at September of 2016, first ride after dislocated finger.
Oh, do
So,
you
like,
do you remember that? Was that on the bike?
yeah, like it says, like this ride from September of 2016, right?
Wow.
3 months, like less than 3 months actually, because I guess like it happened at like in August. So 2 months after I started riding, I dislocated a finger,
Dang.
but still got back on. And that was actually probably that was a crash actually from like hesitating. Um, because it was a trail where it was actually a off menu trail up at Big Bear, and you kind of were, it was all like legit single track, and there's just like basically like a little log drop. It was like it's probably like maybe a foot. I don't even know, because this was back in when I was just starting,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw it and I like hit my brakes, and it ended up causing me to slide off the side of the log,
Oh,
and that's how I dislocated my finger.
jeez.
But I think like if you're, I think honestly, if you're putting yourself into the position where you're, a lot of times I think when we're putting ourselves into positions where we are hesitating on the trail, we've a lot of times maybe gotten in over our heads at that point.
Mm.
Um, maybe, uh, yeah, you can't always tell if you're riding blind, but when you're riding blind, you kind of have to take it a little bit easy. But
Dial it back.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So, man, you got any last words to talk about mindset? We had a whole bunch of notes, but we didn't really get.
Yeah. No, I mean, gosh, we definitely the 1%. That's something we could plug back into when we feel like we're plateauing.
Mm-hmm.
Progression doesn't always have to be like a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a 1% thing, and maybe you don't see it happening, but you could always strive to be that 1%. I mean, maybe it's I'm gonna gas myself up this mountain today and get stronger at the climb. I'm gonna work on technique or body position with something. So it doesn't always have to be huge. So maybe for me, I need to redefine when I feel like if I'm getting into a plateau, like I need to redefine what plateau might mean to me. And maybe it's, yeah, I'm plateauing jumping, right now, but I'm working on other things. It's going to help me become a different jumper, a better jumper down the line.
Yeah, that's well put. There was something you said actually that triggered something else in me, but now I forgot what it was. Sorry.
Oh.
What were you saying about the your sorry, I
No.
forgot.
So the 1% growth, it's a little bit better each day, a little bit better.
Oh, that's what it was, redefining stuff, right? Because like I was thinking about how there's times when I'll go to a place to ride, and I come in with a certain sort of expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And that expectation is essentially my definition of what a successful day on the trail is going to look like. you know. But as we all know in mountain biking, things can change. You
Yeah.
know, you can crash, something can go wrong with your bike. The trail conditions might be different. The number of people on the trail might be more than you thought whatever, your buddy might not show. There's all these things that can change.
Mhm.
And so I think for me, what has helped is to kind of redefine what a good, either redefine or make it really flexible, that definition of what it is to have a good day on the trail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And be
huge.
willing to do that, because I think we get caught up in this thing is like, I don't want to compromise, right? Because
Mhm.
compromising is like bad. But I think like if you, but we also really don't want to be like we don't want to have our lives dictated to us, right?
Right, right.
Thing is if you don't compromise, a lot of the times you're letting your past self dictate your present moment. And that can suck. Like if you expected to have the trails to yourself, but there's 200 people there, like you're
Yeah,
like you're not going to get that. That's not going to happen. You can't get rid of the 200 people. So how are
that's
you going
right.
to how are you going to redefine? How are you going to compromise and redefine your success and still have a good day on the bike?
Yeah. No,
'Cause it's never too late to have a good day.
that's right.
Because actually, there was a saying that I did want to say that I told myself I was going to say this before we ended, and I wish I could remember the author of this, but the saying is every choice is a chance,
Hmm.
right? Every moment that you're making, every chance, every time you make a choice, it's a chance to turn things around, you know. So like, yeah, you always have a moment where you can change course, you can turn things around.
I love that. I love that. And it's so true. It's so true. Who were we? It was Katie and is it Preston, right? Is that
Mhm.
when we were at
Yeah.
Sky Park?
Hmm.
It was a little bit more crowded that day, I think,
Hmm.
because Summit was closed. And he
Yeah.
said something that was really cool. We were all trying to figure out which run we were going to go down, and we turned to him and he said, "Hey, man, I just am so grateful to be on the bike, out pedaling around." It was just like that was it.
Hmm.
Everything else is gravy. So
100%.
that
It's
was
easy to
awesome.
get jaded, right? Like, and because he had just come back from a wrist injury, so
Yeah.
he had like just gotten back on the bike. So yeah, and it was kind of cool to have him around to kind of remind us that like, hey, we get to be on bikes.
Yes. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
and I
like.
love that too. The get to versus have to. Like I have to go down this thing. Well, it's crowded and you're not going to be able to go down very far before you catch somebody. And then when you change that to, hey, I get to do this. It's
Mhm.
that appreciation, that sense of being grateful. You know, it can completely change the way you think about things, and then it can
So
completely
funny.
change the rest of your day.
Yeah, I know we're like going over, but that like what you're saying there, like I so connect to that because I used to be like I had to wait, like people would go down in front of me and I could tell they were like, they just didn't ride at the same pace that I rode at, and I would see them and I'd be like, okay, I need to wait because I don't want to catch up to them. I want to ride the trail at my speed. I ride this fast, and I need the trail clear, and like eventually I'm like, okay, but that ends up meaning like we got to wait up here. And then you never know because like another whole group can go by. So eventually I was just like,
Right.
it's fine. Like what, there's nothing wrong with like catching up with somebody. Like, so you ride behind somebody else for a little while. Like what's wrong with that? And if they want to get over, they can get over and let you pass. It's fine. And if they don't, that's fine too. Cause you're riding bikes.
Yeah.
Um, so like that actually has, yeah, it's funny you say that. And I didn't really recognize that until you said that I have been a lot less needy in that regard.
Yeah. It's cool, huh? When you can change that mindset,
Yeah.
and then you're still having a good time. One of the trails I was trying to follow you down, I caught up to another rider, and at some point he had gotten on Arrow when we were going down it. I'm not sure where, and I thought, hey, I caught up to Alan, and it wasn't you. You were flying down there so fast, and I got stuck behind that rider. But yeah, I just flipped it to, hey, we're gonna have fun, and him and
Mm.
I were hooting and hollering down the mountain and hitting features together, at his pace, and that was
Mhm.
fun. And I
Yeah.
caught you down there, and I thought, well, we get to go back up, and hopefully I can
Yeah.
hang with Alan on the next one. But you're pretty fast, dude.
Well, I've been riding a little while. I have to say, I think being able to hit jumps better and not be like so dependent on speed to clear stuff has also really changed my attitude on that. And I'm not saying that I'm an amazing writer or anything like that. I'm still like a slightly better than average writer, but I'm starting to understand where like people that I've written with that are just like levels ahead of me, like why they are so chilled out about these things, because a highly skilled writer needs less to have a good run.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, they have a lot more skills in the bag. They could do it at any speed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when I was writing with Kevin Aiello, right? And if you don't, we talked about him before, but if you don't know, this guy used to race UCI DH like at a very high level. And if you've ever been around any of those types of riders, we have no comprehension of how freaking fast those people can ride. And this guy's riding with me for coaching, riding behind me the whole time. But when I saw what he was doing, he was like jibbing off of everything, like any chance he had. Like if there was just a little rock on the side of the trail. And then when I followed him, he was going slow so that he could get some like lead cam. I was like, he was off the trail like half the time.
Wow.
He had so much skill. He could just like ride up that log and go over there and whatever. And it was just like he didn't need to go like super fast to like just have a blast on the trail, and any little anything. He didn't even need a jump, like a little whatever he could like get air off of.
Awesome.
So yeah, I
That's
think
awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. All right. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap this up. Yeah.
Sure, Alan. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This has been awesome, and
You're welcome.
so
It's
many
good to have you.
so many folks are always commenting on here. You have such wonderful folks that are a part of this.
Yeah, all good people. I kick out all the bad people. When you guys hit subscribe button, I actually get to approve or deny you as a subscriber. I don't. It's not a thing. All right. Well, with that, let's shut it down. Yeah. Thanks everybody for showing up, and I hope you dug this. Go ahead and I don't know can you hit a like button? I don't know. Test it out. See if you can hit the like button. And stuff like that. Check out Mark's the segment. He's got good stuff going on over there. And I guess we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
That's right. Never too late, everyone.
Never too late.